Obviously, our lives aren't complete if we don't have Christ in them, which also means if we don't have Christ in them, we're never going to experience true peace.
Welcome to the Getting Better podcast. How is everyone doing today? We hope you are just having the best day. You know, and what's great about getting better, one of the best ways is I think we can all learn something from each other. And that's what me and Gage are doing here. Gage, you doing all right today?
I'm doing great, and I'm actually doing extra great this week, Gunnar, because I have got tickets to see Toby Mac.
Toby Mac, if you
My
don't know,
childhood
is 75 years old and making Christian music still.
You better hope you don't see that.
He won't. No, he's great, dude. He's one of my childhood favorites, too. He's the first one to make some cool Christian music.
Oh,
no
yeah,
offense to anybody else out there.
Rap, the rock, I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah, he's very talented, much more talented than I am, for sure. But, man, I love what we have to talk about today. Recently, you talked about some fruits of the Spirit at church, worship on the water, actually, and peace, man. I mean, who wouldn't want more of that?
Everybody wants, but you got to have peace. And when you think about, of course, fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, right? And it's for, first of all, the only way to get that stuff is through being with Christ, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any one of those fruits, right? However many there are, 9 of them, or however many there are.
Remaining in Him,
I
yeah.
missed one, but it's about being in Him. But when I think of peace, and as I was studying for it for worship on the water, I've kind of got a different definition than what I'd ever had before. I think I've always thought peace, you really get peace if you don't have conflict in your life, or you get peace if you don't have disagreement in your life, right? So
Yeah.
I've kind of thought peace is in the absence of those things, but it's not really. Peace is found in presence, and obviously what we mean by that is God's presence. And so as I was trying to figure these things out, not to get too nerdy, but I was listening to a guy, and he was talking about the definition of peace in the Bible. And in the Old Testament, it's a certain word. The New Testament's a certain word, but they mean the same thing. And actually what they mean is completeness or wholeness, right? To be complete. And so relating this to Christ, obviously our lives aren't complete if we don't have Christ in them, which also means if we don't have Christ in them, we're never going to experience true peace. And we can try to get peace in any kind of way we want. We can try whatever it is, whether it's vacations, or like if you're a teacher like me and you're on summer break, right? That's pretty peaceful. But that only lasts so long. And the only true peace that can be found is in the presence of God, man. And in the Old Testament, the word for peace is shalom. In the New Testament, it's Irene, because obviously written in 2 different languages. But what it means is that completeness. And so as I was thinking about that,
I got you right here. The shalom. I got it right here in my notes. So we talk about it. Rest, tranquility, wholeness, completeness, and contentment. And yeah, that's right on the money.
without Christ, you don't have that.
No.
And I think we could try to put whatever we want to in there to search for peace. And you know what? Probably for a little bit it might work, but it just leaves you empty, and you got to do it again, right? But it ain't like that with being in the presence of God, right? In His presence there's peace.
Yeah, man. And I think if you've experienced it, you know it. And I don't know, I pray everyone can experience, that presence. We think if I just had more time, or maybe if I just had more money, or maybe if I just had less of this, or maybe if I had less hours at work.
Right.
And the thing is like, that's not where it comes from.
It's not there.
Yeah. It comes from remaining in Christ. And there's some different principles that
Sure.
The Bible teaches that I think helps us find and experience that peace, right? And I've heard someone say it this way, basically the Prince of Peace, the Prince has principles that help, right? And I think a lot of those principles, we neglect those, and so we don't have the byproduct of those, which is peace, right? And that's a lot of stuff in the Bible. Like we love like maybe what it says and how it encourages us, but we don't always apply it to our lives. And so I think once we apply stuff to, maybe live a life that is following God, or what I'm about to talk about, submitting and actually fully surrendering our lives to His lordship, like you can experience peace. Like like you said, the definition of peace, shalom, is the Hebrew word, which means, rest, tranquility, wholeness, completeness, contentment. But the word for the prince is sar, is what it says, and it's like the one in charge. Like, so if you think like sar is like, is that Russian? Is that correct? Come on, you're a teacher, help me out.
I'm not that kind of teacher. I'm not that good of one, so I don't know.
No, someone will correct us somewhere. But the one in charge, Lord, chief, or general, right? And so, you have there's these Bible verses where you hear where peace is mentioned, Lord is mentioned like right next to it. So I'll just go through a few real quick.
Yeah.
Psalm 4:8, I will lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, O Lord. So you got peace and Lord. Only you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 29:11, the Lord gives strength to his people. The Lord blesses his people with peace. Acts 10:36, this is the message of the good news for the people of Israel, that there is peace with God through Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. One more, Romans 5:1, therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Well, I think this paints such a beautiful picture, and I've heard this is one of the peace principles that really helped me, was like, in the Bible, where peace is mentioned a lot, right next close to it is Lord. And that prince word, the Prince of Peace, is also like Lord of Peace.
Yeah.
And basically, a way to explain, I hope I explain this clearly and effectively enough, and you can jump in and ask me questions, but I think people want a byproduct of a relationship that they never had sometimes. And that's tough, right?
It is tough.
And I'll explain this, and I'll confess all
tough.
my control issues and surrender issues in a second to let everybody know I'm on the same playing field. Like, I'm not just some guy who's like, this is what I've heard, and this is a peace principle that's helped me. Like, you want a byproduct of relationships you never had. So basically, peace and lordship go together. Like, you can't get one without the other. So, like, you can't fully experience peace if you don't fully surrender your life to Jesus as Lord of your life.
Absolutely.
And feel free to jump in wherever you want. But, like, I think the lordship part is so hard because it's like, it says Lord, General, Sar, Chief. I want to be the chief of my life.
Yeah.
I want to be the Lord. I want to
Same.
be the. So, and I shared this with somebody else the other day. Like, if you want to, analogy for somebody is like a landlord. If you rent a house, or you rent a space, or you rent an apartment, right? You don't actually have control. You're just there. Like, you don't get to say what happens there, right? And that's kind of like, but God is the landlord of our life. Like, he's the one who gets to say.
Absolutely.
He's the one who I've surrendered to, because my life is his. I'm giving it, like, he has ownership. He has full, lordship of everything. The thing is, I don't always live that way.
No, same.
Like, it's a daily thing of like, I need to surrender my life and lay it down, because the truth is, like, when I realize when I'm lacking peace in my life is when I'm trying to take control of it.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm trying to be Lord of my life, and it's like a reminder of like, no, I'm not the one who needs to be in control here. I need to go back and surrender. Like, God, hey, you're in control, God. I'm sorry for, trying to take control and being the Lord, be in charge. God, I want you to be in charge. And I think people are like, why don't I have peace? It's like, well, you never really surrendered. And I think, what step would you have to take to be surrendered? And so for everyone, just take an inventory at home and maybe wherever you're at, it's like, who is really in charge of your life? Who is really running things? And that's a question I have to ask myself daily as well.
Same. Yeah.
Because like,
every day.
Yeah, because it's easy for me to just run my own life, and I get on cruise control doing it, and it's like, well, wait a minute. And I get to the spot where it's like, why am I not living a very peaceful life right now? Yeah, because I'm not surrendered.
Yeah. And Prince of Peace, that Lord, that means he's the maker of peace, right? He's the giver of peace. And just like I said earlier, anywhere else we can go for peace is a counterfeit at best.
Yeah.
To what Jesus gives, right? And so I think of some things he says. Both of these verses are in John. One of them is, he's like, my peace I give to you. He says, I'm not giving it to you as the world gives to you, which means the world can't offer what he can offer.
That's right, man.
Right? And so if we're searching for that peace, number one, that's where it's found. And it takes him being Lord of our life and us surrendering our lives to him. I like John 16:33. It says, this is Jesus talking. He says, in me, you will have peace.
Yeah.
And then he says, in this world, you're going to have trouble.
Yeah.
Right? But be of good cheer because I've overcome the world. So when we put our trust, when we put our faith, when we make him Lord of our life, there's peace there. And that's not to say we're never going to have a little bit of worry. It's not to say we're never going to have a little bit of anxiety about things, right? But overall, if he is Lord of our life, if we've surrendered our life, if he's Lord, right? He's the Prince of Peace. He's Lord, then there's peace in our lives also.
Yeah. And he says you will have trouble.
Yeah.
Like stuff's going to happen.
He's confirmed it for you.
Yeah.
You're going to have stuff to worry about. That's
No
what he says.
surprises here.
Yeah, no, there's no surprise. In this world, you will have trouble. And I think that means sometimes we're going to have worry. Sometimes that means we're going to have anxiety. But throughout all that, we know the Prince of Peace.
Yeah.
Right? We know the Prince of Peace.
Yeah, man. And I think just living, the submitting of my life and the surrendering of it to him is like a dying daily thing that like I can always get better at. It's almost like I need to like put it on a sticky note or something. That way.
And I think these things that we talk about, like talking about even the dying daily, this stuff, it just relates to everything. What take up your cross daily. There's some things we got to do daily. Mm-hmm. And one of those things is remind ourselves, hey, who's Lord today?
Yeah.
Right? Is Gage trying to be Lord today, or am I trying to let the Prince of Peace be Lord today?
Yeah.
And that's a tough question because a lot of times it's Gage wanting to be the Lord, right?
Yeah. And, we can just ask the question, for everybody. It's like, when is your life best? When you're Lord or when God is?
Yeah.
And, that's the answer.
And that's one of those rhetorical questions because it's...
Everyone knows the answer.
Yeah. My life goes a lot smoother when he's in control, not when I'm in control.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm with you. I think, I don't know, that's one of the main peace principles that's helped me a lot. And, I don't know, hopefully it helps somebody else.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking on this peace thing. I like what it says in Philippians 4, all right? There's a lot of good stuff in Philippians 4, and we could probably spend a long time on it, but one thing it says, that's verse, 6 or 7. 6. Do not be anxious about anything. And I read that, I'm like, okay, right? That's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, don't do
you know
it,
what I
Gage.
mean?
Don't
be anxious about anything.
Just quit it.
Yeah, do not be anxious about anything, it says, right? But it says in every situation. This is where it's like, okay, I'm going to hone in a little bit here. By prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, we can present our requests or whatever it is to God. So that means prayer, spending time with God, right? In communion with God, with the Prince of Peace. Petition, that means I'm saying, God, I need you in this area, right? And with thanksgiving, what that means is, hey, I'm already giving thanks because I know God's in control anyway.
I think it's a perspective towards it too,
100%,
right?
It's 100%.
How do you view, how are you viewing this time in God's presence? How are you, I know you have this petition and things that are heavy and things you're dealing with, but is your perspective that God can, or is it your perspective of just like, oh, well,
right.
What is I think the Thanksgiving is almost like a heart posture too. And
I think I love this. When we had Justin and Tracy on, and they said, I know God can, I know he will, but even if he doesn't,
that's right.
He's been good. And that's kind of where we can come to that place with Thanksgiving. So
that's good.
Prayer, petition, thanksgiving, present our requests to God, right? And what's it say after that? It says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding.
Love that.
Which means it goes above everything. It outranks everything we can imagine. It outranks our worry. It outranks our anxiety. It outranks whatever prescription. It outranks whatever trip, whatever vacation. The peace of God outranks all that. It transcends all understanding, and it will guard our heart and our mind in Christ Jesus. And I don't know about you, but man, sometimes I need my heart and my mind guarded.
Yeah.
Right? I need it guarded by the peace of God. And the way to do that, man, prayer, petition, thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right? Presenting our requests to God.
Yeah, I love the peace that transcends understanding. I've seen it says human understanding, and it's like when you walk around in life with peace like this, people will be like, how are you being so peaceful when you're going through whatever?
Exactly.
How are you walking through life when you should be down? How are you going through this? Because I have peace that surpasses human understanding. That this is bigger. This kind of peace is not touchable by human standards or human understanding. Like, this is from heaven. This is from God.
Yeah.
And like, there's no other way for this to make sense, because it is not from this world. You don't see this anywhere. This is a peace that surpasses, that transcends anything else you could see anywhere else.
And I think we can all think of, I don't know, families or people in our lives where it's like, man, how do they have peace in that situation? That's because there's peace that you can get that transcends all understanding. It outranks anything.
When you're going through the worst times, man.
That's right, man. And the thing is, we can have access to that.
Yeah.
And does that mean we're never going to have worry? No. Does that mean we're never going to have anxiety? I would say no, because Jesus said, in this world you will have trouble.
Yeah, and it's not like we're perfect either, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Just things happen.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, going back to what the Prince of Peace and the Lord of Peace, if he's in our lives, we can have peace.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I think kind of piggyback off of what you just went off of, don't worry, don't be anxious, but instead pray. And it has all that stuff we can do, which I think is a great blueprint for people. Like, hey, here's just some things to follow. Present your request to God. You want the petition, prayer, petition, and then Thanksgiving. Then go through those go through that blueprint in your life. I think that's super helpful.
Like a game plan.
Yeah, like a game plan. And one thing, when I think about peace, obviously, when you think about peace, you think about the opposite of that, which could be stress, could be worry, anxiety. And Matthew 6, I think, is a cool picture. Jesus is talking. He's actually like telling a story, or he's talking about like people are worrying. He's like, hey, don't look at the flowers, look at the birds. Like, don't I take care of them? Like, don't they have enough food to eat? And he says, don't worry about clothes. Don't worry about what you eat or drink. For the pagans worry about this. Like, people who don't know God worry about these things.
Right.
And he says, he closes out right here. He says, but seek first his kingdom, his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. And I think sometimes when our lack of peace is we're focusing on the wrong thing. And sometimes we got to put everything in an eternal perspective, in light of eternity. And I heard this said on a podcast called Becoming Something. You should go listen to it because it's much better than this. But he said, your worst day in heaven is better than your best day on earth.
That's good.
Yeah, that's why I repeated it. That guy is
good.
a genius. Jonathan, JP is what they call him. I don't know how to pronounce his last
Yeah.
name. But anyways, he's that passionate. And it's just like, yeah, man, yeah, of course it is. But it's hard for me to understand being here, right? But Jesus says, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So therefore, don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has trouble of its own. Hey, man, I know there's worries in life. I know there's places where you lack peace. But at the end, in the light of eternity, focusing on eternity, it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And I think seeking his kingdom first, and I believe he will take care of the rest. Whether that's if my peace is for things like that I don't have, maybe that's, people worrying about even where their next meal is coming from, different things happening. Like, God loves you and he sees you.
Yeah.
And the Prince of Peace, the Lord of all, he has peace available for you. And it may not come through what you think, it may not come from having everything figured out, or it might not come from having all the money in your bank account, but it's his presence. It's, I think, submitting and surrendering your life. And I think it's like you can have some stuff if you follow some principles that he has for you and you experience God himself, and it's available. His peace is available.
It is. And I think what you said about, kind of having worries in our life, we are going to.
Yeah.
And going back to that Philippians verse, it says, do not be anxious about anything. That word anxious, it's not actually what we think about worry or anxiety. It actually that word means troubled by cares, because we are going to have cares.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have things, man, that we worry about. And I think we're going to have some anxiety at times. But I think what happens is when he says don't be anxious, I think what he's really trying to say is don't be consumed by those cares.
Yeah.
Because we have something greater ahead, right? We have something greater ahead. So it's easy to be consumed by our cares, and I think that robs us of peace. But I love what it's in First Peter somewhere 5:7, I think. Cast all your cares on Him, because He cares for you.
Yeah.
And that just goes back, man, to knowing the Prince of Peace, knowing the Lord of Peace, and going to Him in prayer, petition, and thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. But even in times when it's difficult, Philippians goes on a little bit, and just made sense to me not long ago, where it says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, if you want to have peace, you got some stuff going on in your mind. What can we think about? What can we do to combat that? Finally, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about those things." Right? There's so many things in our world, whether it be the news or social media or whatever, that tries to take our thoughts, right? And this is a lot easier said than done, but the verse says we take every thought captive. What I want to do for me to find peace, I want to take those thoughts captive, and I want to think about the things that are noble, or that are praiseworthy, or that are admirable, or that are pure, or that are lovely, right? So if I'm trying to combat these things, man, taking those thoughts captive and focusing on the things that bring me peace.
Yeah, and usually when you're lacking peace, you usually think about things that are the complete opposite of that. You're thinking about things that are not true.
100%.
So
or not lovely, or not admirable.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And so I think basically it's just hey, let's shift our focus on what's really true here. What's really admirable. Let's focus on the good things, because there's more good than you think. And I think the whole Philippians 4 right there, that passage is just so good, man. Like, it just, the prayer, the thanksgiving, petition, and then the hey, let's change what we're thinking about. Let's focus on what we need to.
And is that going to solve all our problems? The answer probably is no.
No.
But it gives you the game plan.
Yeah.
You're right. And if you want to start somewhere, how can we start somewhere? I think that's where we got to start.
Yeah.
And some of it boils down to is I believe what he says. I believe what God says is true.
Yeah.
Okay. And it may be sometimes it's harder, right, than others, but I believe this. I believe that His peace can come in my life and transcend any understanding, go above any understanding. I believe that. And if we can believe that, seek the Lord of peace, I think we can have peace in our lives.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think He wants us to. Jesus says, right, He wants to have life, but have an abundant life. We go back to that all the time.
Yeah.
Or life to the full.
Yeah.
To get life to the full, man, any one of these fruits of the Spirit we could plug in, but peace. If we don't have peace, right, it's hard to have life to the full if you don't have peace.
Yeah. And, we just, try it for yourself, It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing when you're in your worst situation and you feel like you experience peace.
Yeah.
And maybe you've been there before, maybe you haven't, but if you believe the God of the universe is true, and you believe what He says is true, and then try it yourself.
And that, I go back to the Philippians. I can't help it. And he says the peace, that transcends all, will guard your heart and your mind. And this Philippians is written by the Apostle Paul. He happens to be in prison while he's writing this. And I can just imagine while he's writing this about the peace of God, that he can just look out his prison window, or if he has one, he probably sees a guard walking. And what's that guard doing? He's keeping stuff from getting inside. The guard's keeping stuff from getting inside the prison, right? And that's what the peace of God can do in our lives. It can keep stuff from getting into our heart. It can keep stuff from getting into our mind. And I need that.
Yeah.
I need that. I'm the type of guy, first thing I do in the morning, sometimes I read my Bible, not always. I turn on the news. There's not a lot of peace coming from the news. There's not a lot of peace coming from the news, just for real, right? And so I need that peace to guard my heart. I can't let anything in.
Yeah.
And when I hear that word guard, that's what I think about, man. Just how He's, it's just His peace is like a guard. It's keeping the stuff that needs to stay out. And that's what we need.
That's awesome, man. I think that's a good visual to end on. I want to leave people there.
Let's leave them there.
God's peace can guard your
Yeah.
heart and your mind. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Well, thanks so much, man. You're awesome.
Awesome.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. And if you're on Spotify, Apple, rate, review, do all that stuff. I think that it helps the channel. Want to help people grow and get better. Hey, if you think this conversation of peace can be helpful to someone you know, share it with them. Who couldn't use a conversation or use more peace in their life? And God has it available. So like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Until next time, keep on getting better.